Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
In our previous discussion, we have seen that how newly industrialized countries has improved its infrastructure and how they are getting basically the return on their infrastructure investment today. Whatever they did during 1970s, now they are getting the return for those infrastructure development. Today, we will discuss that how infrastructure in developing and underdeveloped economy is not having the equal level of conditions. We will find out through the description of data, especially in the economic infrastructure sector and also in the social infrastructure sector, that how there is a huge gap between the developing and underdeveloped economy today. And based on that, we will also see that how the new task and the unfinished task for the infrastructure development is on the way for developing an underdeveloped economy. Let me begin with the brief outline of this presentation. As I have said, we will compare the infrastructure in developing country and underdeveloped economy or least developed economy. Also, we will have the description of data in the economic infrastructure sector, and we will also try to find out some of the indicators of social sector, which will be further described. Let me begin with what basically the condition of infrastructure between the developed country and underdeveloped economy is there. In the left side of the table, one can see that how Hong Kong is again having the best rank in the world in terms of global infrastructure rank. Again the Singapore, United Arab of Emirat and Netherlands and many other countries which has better understanding, such as Japan, France, Spain, United Kingdom. So these are the countries which has achieved its position out of 1 to 10 rank. But what about India, a country which is having the second largest population in the world today, and what about China, which is having the largest population of the world today? What about Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan? So if we can see here, in terms of global rank in infrastructure, India is on the position of 87, while the China is on the position of 46, Sri Lanka is on the position of 75, Bangladesh on 127 rank, while the Pakistan is on 119 rank. Let me also see some other least developed countries, because these examples are from the developing one. If one can see here the Bhutan, which has 92 rank, Nepal 132 rank, Yemen and other countries which is far below from the rank of some of the developing country which we have discussed today. So what this shows? This shows that some of the newly industrialized economy and some of the developed countries are far ahead in terms of infrastructure development compared to the developing country, and at the same time some of the developing countries are far ahead from many least developed countries. And so we find out that world is not having the equal level of field in case of infrastructure, and this basically gives us a different opportunity for economic growth and development in coming years also. In our previous example yesterday, we have seen that 4 different newly industrialized countries such as Hong Kong, Taiwan, Korea and Singapore has proved through its infrastructure development that infrastructure is the key for the economic growth and success in the world. And these 4 economies has achieved these benefits through the infrastructure growth, And how they did it through the reform in the economic policy, they did it with the huge investment in infrastructure, they did it with the private participation in the infrastructure, they did it with the help of a new model of industrialization, and that is basically the outward looking industrialization model or the development model which economist is pointing out. But why many developing countries are still not having a better rank in infrastructure development? Because if we see or compare these developing country with some of the newly industrialized economy and some of the developed economy, we find out that many economy in South Asia, including India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, even China, they were having little late in reform, or even today they are not really having a full fledged private partnership in all the sectors. So there are state run telecom services in these economies. We are finding that there are state run airways in these economies. We are finding that state run bus services are still there, railways are still managed by these by the government in these economies, and we do not find that the responsibility of infrastructure growth or infrastructure maintenance or infrastructure in telecommunication and transportation is not in complete hand of the private sector. Because these economies were having a previous background of government control, public sector was one of the huge area or public sector were taking the responsibility of industrialization and infrastructure development in these economies. In fact, for till 1990-91 it was nothing except the government of India which has taken care of largest part of infrastructure development. Similarly, in Bangladesh, till now Bangladesh Biman and Bangladesh Railway is run by the government. Even in Pakistan, public sector was one of the prominent partner in infrastructure development, and slowly after 1995-96 or by 2000 we are finding that there are certain areas where government is coming out from the responsibility of development of infrastructure by their own means, but they are also finding the partners from the market. What about the least developed countries? We can find out that least developed countries are not having enough resources in development, and they have to depend on the resources from different international agencies, lending agencies, and at the same time bilateral agencies and the partners in their infrastructure projects. We are finding here that compared to the developing country, least developed countries conditions are really bad, because they have still not a very good governance, or they are not really having a good sense of maintaining those infrastructure or developing those infrastructure, because it is not really difficult to produce the infrastructure, but it is also difficult to think about production of those infrastructure, especially in least developed countries, because resources are not really in favor of developing those. So major responsibility in least developed countries are in the hand of the international agencies such as World Bank in physical infrastructure sector, or different agencies which we have discussed in our previous presentations, that there are certain bilateral agencies which helps in infrastructure development in these economies. Similarly, in developing country also we need the partners from different part of the world, and it is not really possible to help to bridge the gap of the infrastructure without such support, because you need a new technology to develop the infrastructure, you need new investment to develop the infrastructure, and you need constant support in terms of advisory nature, and in terms of maintaining those infrastructure also in future. So let me just compare some of the statistics between a few economies, and through that we can really have the a discussion that how some of the economies are far ahead from many developing and less developed countries. One can see here the number of airports. United States is again one of the top position in terms of having the airports. after that Russia and Mexico and Canada. But one can see here the position of India, which is or the China, which is, or South Africa, which is not as good as the position of United States. So this is one of the indicator which shows that the difference between the developed and developing country. Why this difference is important to understand? Because some of the developing country, especially India and China, is having the huge population of the world, but what this huge population has the achievement in terms of airports compared to the population which US is having, or the France is having, or the Russia is having, or other countries are having. In terms of population, we are much bigger population in the world, but in terms of the facility, we are not as good as many developed countries. Here in case of railways, if we can see here, China and India is not as good as the United States. At the same time, if we can see the size of the population of Italy or France, they are very less in terms, or Germany, their population is really less, but the difference between the railway length route compared to India and China is in terms of population, we are not really as good as those smaller countries where they have developed railway routes in much better way. Apart from this, if we can see here the road networks in kilometers, again United States is in the top, is in a better position, and India, China is still better, but when it comes for the population, when it comes for the road network for the current population, it is not good to say that we are better or we are equal to the developed one, because the developed countries are not really having a large population and urbanization going on, because they have already reached the level of development in past. So they are just maintaining their development, but at the same time we have to achieve the new targets in development, and these indicators are really showing us that we have to move ahead with the growing population and urbanization in our economy. In terms of waterways also, we are not really, especially India, Argentina, Indonesia, they have to have much better waterways facilities developed, because waterways is one of the way of transportation from not only from today, but from the long history of civilization, and the trade begins with the waterways. And so many countries are really good enough to catch this opportunity. Singapore is one of the economy in the world which has a huge transactions through the waterways, and they earn a lot. A major part of the GDP comes from such activity. In terms of communication, number of main telephone lines in use, that also indicates the way we have developed our communication system. Currently, country like South Korea, or if one can compare South Korea, United Kingdom and India, the telephone lines, which is basically the main telephone lines in use, we have the equal statistics, but if we can compare these statistics with the current population of India, United Kingdom and Indonesia, we are not really having the equal population. So that again shows that there are a large number of population which is far away from the main telephone lines or landline telephone connections. So this is one of the indicator where we can again find out that infrastructure developed in different part of the world is not equal, and even in the communication sector we find out that there are differences in the case of infrastructure development. Let me also discuss about the cellular mobile telephone subscribers conditions in many countries today, and we find out here in terms of number of total number of mobile cellular service providers, subscribers, China and India, India is again the second largest country in the world, while the China is having much better performance in terms of cellular, telephone and mobile services. United States, which is much less populated country than India, is much better, or one can see it is much better in terms of cellular subscribers conditions, having the condition of the current population. But at the same time, we have countries like Pakistan, Nigeria, Vietnam, which has to really work hard for work hard to get more number of subscribers in the telephone, especially mobile cellular segment. In terms of internet host, which is internet host is a computer connected directly to the internet. We again find the difference in terms of computer host in the developed country and developing country. One can see here the Poland, which is much lesser compared to the China, and again United States is in a very better condition today. Again in terms of internet users, which is with a country that access the internet, internet users compares the number of users within a country, and we are finding that a better statistics is not available in the populated country, but better statistics China is the exception here, but we find out the better statistics are available with Japan, with United States, with Germany, but not with India, not with Mexico. So, in case of number of internet users also, many of the developing country, and especially country like India, which is largest, second largest in the world, is lacking behind in terms of internet users. Let me also discuss some of the social infrastructure, which some of the indicators of social infrastructure, and we can also find out that how our economy, India, or some other developing economy and less developed economies are having the expenditure on education. Expenditure on education is compare the public expenditure on education as percentage of GDP, and this is also one of the indicator to find out or to show that how sensitive a country is in terms of educating the people, because educating the people is not only an expenditure, but educating the people is basically an investment which will pay you a better return after some years, and that has been proved by many East Asian countries that the investment on education and health is going to lead them in a much better human development index in the world today. So, if we can see here in this particular example, a percentage of GDP, education as a percentage of GDP, in this rank India is on the 134th rank in the world in 2011 with the expenditure of 3.20%. So, that shows that as a part of the social infrastructure program, education is one of the major pillar in the social infrastructure development, and we are not as good as many smaller country of the world which is really having a better expenditure in education, such as Cuba. 12% of the GDP is having 12% of the GDP is expended for having the expenditure on education, but in if we will compare the population of Cuba and India, this percentage of the GDP on education shows that Cuba is more concerned for education than the Indian government, which is 3.2% of the GDP. One can see here the Denmark, some of the Nordic nations. Denmark is one of the most educated in terms of recent achievement in education, and we are finding here that how it happened, because it happened because of the constant investment. This is little older data of 2009, and we find out that 8.70% of the GDP is on education. Similarly, some more country like Botswana, 9.5%, and we have developed many developing country can really take lessons from these economies, that how sensitive and how fast and how aggressive education basically they are in their mind, they are having in their mind, and that is why a huge percentage of GDP is being allotted for the education. So, this is one of the indicators which shows that many countries, many developed countries, many developing countries and least developed countries are having the difference in terms of having the expenditure on education, and India is one of the country which is lagging behind in terms of percentage of GDP paid for the education. One of the another indicator is the birth rate. Birth rate compares the average annual number of births during a year. This also shows that how good, how better position we are having in terms of because birth rate is one of the rate which also contributes in terms of growing the population, and our rank in terms of birth rate is 86, while the some of the African economies is having first rank. Niger, Mali, Uganda, Zambia, they are first, second, third, fourth in the world in 2014. These indicators are basically the indicators which shows that out of 1,000 persons, how much out of 1,000, how much is the rate of birth of a child. And in developed country we find out that this percentage is little less compared to the percentage of many African countries. In fact, in Singapore it is 5 times lower, in Japan it is again 5 times lower than the some of the African countries which is cited as the first ranker, second and third and fourth in the world. Even the Germany is having less birth rate, United States is having less birth rate, and this happened due to the contribution of educating the people and making them healthy, and more if the life expectancy is very high, then there is a certain impact on the birth rate, because if population is educated, healthy, they can understand the living of a standard and they really work on reducing the birth rate. If the population is not unhealthy, not educated, if the population is really uncertain about the survival of the child, in those economies we are finding the very high birth rate. But if the economy is certain about the child's health, their survival, these economies are really having lower birth rate, and that way Singapore, Denmark, Germany, South Korea, Japan has proved that they are more serious about child care, they are more serious about the education, they are more serious about the sanitation, they are more serious about the well-being of the new generation. So, in those economies we are finding the birth rate is really less compared to African economies. Now, coming back to the death rate, we can also see here again South Africa is having the highest death rate in the world. Ukraine is again very high. India has reduced its death rate, which is around 7.35 in 2014. Compared to these African economy, if you can see here the Singapore or the Malaysia, that has really less than or around less than 3 times less than death rate in these economies. And as we are constantly making the point that how education and health is really influencing these indicators, because if the economy is really having educated population, healthy population, and then they will certainly understand the meaning of health, they will certainly knowing the fact that how small things is very important to maintain the health. And for taking care of the child, these educated population are much advanced, and they really concerned, they really shows their concern for the kids, and ultimately their expectations for the birth of the child is also declining when the death rate is declining. Across the country we have also seen, we can also see that wherever there is high death rate, we are also finding that there are high birth rate, because more child will not be able to survive. The parents are more certain about more uncertain about the child, and then they are having more expectation for the more child. Even in India there are certain states where the death rate is still very high, and we are also finding that wherever there is high death rate, there are chances for the high there are indications for the high birth rate. So reducing death rate is again one of the major indicator, which also shows that how death rate and birth rate influence each other, and how the population growth is really influenced with these indicators and these rates. Let me also see here the children under age of 5 which is underweight. That way India is the second in the world. In 2000 it was in the 2006, but still India's condition in terms of underweight kids is not very improved, because this is again connected with disease, connected with child care. If a child is weak, a child is ill, they will not able to eat properly, they will not able to digest properly, and ultimately the poverty and the income level of the poor people who produces more child are not in the position to provide the kids more better food and better calorie. So ultimately there is a vicious circle of underweight children, and once a child is underweight, they will remain underweight for many years, because they will be badly affected by the diseases. Once they are badly affected by the diseases, they will continue with that disease for some time, because the parents are not having proper income to really take care of them. And due to this tendency, this type of conditions in the society, especially in developing country and also in African economies and many Asian economies, we find out that 5 years underweight kids are in a very large number, and children under the age of 5 years underweight gives the percentage of children considered to be underweight. It means that weight for age is approximately 2 kg below from the standard at age 1, 3 kg below standard for age 2, and 4 kg below standard as 4 at the age of 4 and 5. So that way India is and even the Pakistan in 2013 data, if you can see here, or the Nigeria or Bangladesh, these data, Yemen, this shows that their conditions are not really good, and these out of 1 to 10 countries which is shown in this diagram shows that these economies are not really having better child care system. Recently some of the programs are initiated in a country like India, but still there are miles to cover for the underweight children in India, in Pakistan, and in Bangladesh and in many economies. At the same time, maternal mortality rate, the annual number of female deaths per lakh births from any cause related to or aggravated by pregnancy or its management, excluding accidental or incidental causes. We are finding here that again some of the African economy and Asian economies such as Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh and India is one of the major country in the world, and this also shows that not only not the level of health conditions are not only bad for the kids, but equally bad for the mother, because low income group people and the poor people are not in the position to provide a better calorie during the pregnancy. Even if certain supports from the government, due to the low level of literacy and awareness, they are not in the position to really concentrate on taking the iron and calcium pills on time, and because of this reason there is a iron deficiency and hemoglobin deficiency in the majority of the women during the pregnancy, and this is one of the major cause of the maternal mortality rate in India and also in many developing country and least developed country. And when the danger is with when the danger is for the mother, the danger is also for the kids, and there are cases where the mother is not able to survive, and because of that the child is also not able to survive, infant is also not able to survive. This is a very tragic fact in terms of our social infrastructure development. Number of hospitals are very less, number of nursing facilities, number of nurses are very less. Society is not really having proper social infrastructure in terms of health in many places of the world, and that is the big challenge for the current development of the world economy. We have large number of manufacturing products to transport it from one part to other part, but at the same time we are not having large number of doctors available to every part of the world today, and even the basic facilities are not available in many countries for the pregnant lady and for the kids, and that is one of the major tasks which developing country and least developed country has to take care with the support from various international agencies such as World Health Organization and UNICEF and other supporters like World Bank. So, with this discussion we can find out that there are indicators of physical as well as social infrastructure which show that the developing and least developed countries had improved little bit in the condition of infrastructure development in certain areas, such as India has improved certain better conditions in the telecommunication sector, in internet subscribers or mobile subscribers. But when we see the data of the death rate, when we see the data of the birth rate, when we see the statistics on underweight children, majority of the developing country including India and many least developed countries from Africa to Asia, we find out that they have to really take care of a different targets to fulfill the current requirement of infrastructure, because with the current growth of population and urbanization, and also the facility not available in the rural part of majority of the developing and less developed country, this is one of the big challenge for us to find out the ways how to come up from the such infrastructure gap. And if these social infrastructure gap and the physical infrastructure gaps are not really taken care, then the majority of the social problems will continue, and that social problem, the lack of social infrastructure and the physical infrastructure will remain, keep us in developing and least developed stage of the society. Thank you.